In 1962, the Japanese government commissioned a research team to document traditional household practices that were disappearing as Western consumer products flooded the Japanese market for the first time. The researchers traveled to rural Okinawa, Kyushu, Tohoku, and the farming communities of Nagano Prefecture. They spent 3 years recording what elderly Japanese households were doing that their grandchildren were abandoning for products sold in new Western-style stores. The report they produced ran 847 pages. It was filed with the Ministry of Health and never published for general distribution. The consumer product companies entering Japan at that time had a financial interest in making sure it stayed buried. I have spent 4 years tracking down references to that report across agricultural journals, regional university libraries, and correspondence from researchers who worked on it. What follows are 25 of the practices they documented, practices that modern science has since validated entirely, practices that the companies selling you replacements spent decades making sure you never heard of. Hack 1. Rice water for engine lubrication. The first wash of unpolished rice produces a liquid containing ferulic acid and inositol hexaphosphate. These compounds prevent thermal breakdown of motor oil under high heat cycling and bind to microscopic metal particles in used oil before they embed in cylinder walls. Japanese mechanics in Kagoshima Prefecture documented using first wash rice water as an engine additive for decades before synthetic treatments existed. University of Kyushu researchers confirmed the mechanism in 2003. The engine treatment industry is worth $4.3 billion annually. Use 1 tablespoon per quart of oil at every oil change. Cost: the water you are already pouring down the drain. Hack 2. Persimmon tannin for waterproofing. Kakashibu, fermented unripe persimmon juice, penetrates wood fiber at the cellular level and creates a waterproof barrier that hardens under ultraviolet exposure rather than degrading in sunlight. Kyoto University tested 23 traditional wooden structures treated with kakishibu. There was 0 water penetration after 80 to 120 years of continuous exposure. A liter costs $18 to $35 and covers 150 square feet. The American roofing industry lobbied against its inclusion in residential building codes in 1971. A $56 billion annual industry protected its position. Hack number 3. Apple cider vinegar fly trap. Fermentation produces ethanol and acetic acid, the exact chemical signature a fly follows to find food. A jar of apple cider vinegar with 2 drops of dish soap and a paper funnel captures more flies than any commercial trap on the market. EPA. Research confirmed 94% effectiveness compared to 67% for leading commercial sticky traps. The pest industry submitted 340 pages of objections to keep it out of consumer guidelines. Cost per summer, $6. Professional fly control contract, $240 annually. Hack 4. Binchiton. Charcoal water filtration. Ubame oak fired at 1,800 degrees creates a carbon structure with over 1,000 square meters of surface area per gram. Contaminants bind to that structure through adsorption and never release. Chlorine, heavy metals, volatile organic compounds, trihalomethanes, all removed. A 2017 study in the Journal of Water and Health tested Binchitan against Brita cartridge filters across 14 common contaminants. It showed statistically identical performance. Binchitan cost per year, $24. Brita system cost per year, $515, and climbing. Hack 5. Radiant barrier foil in attics. Your attic reaches 140 to 160 degrees on a standard July afternoon. That heat pushes directly through your ceiling into your living space. Your air conditioner is not cooling your home. It is fighting your attic. Aluminum foil laid across existing attic insulation, with the reflective side facing up, reflects 97% of incoming radiant heat before it reaches the attic air. Department of Energy testing showed attic temperature reductions of 20 to 30 degrees and cooling cost reductions of 17 to 42%. The HVAC industry lobbied against its inclusion in building energy codes throughout the 1990s. Material cost for an average home is $60 to $180. One weekend installation. No contractor required. Hack number 6. Diatomaceous earth for pest control. This is fossilized microscopic algae with razor-sharp edges at the microscopic level, which cut through the exoskeleton of any insect on contact, causing dehydration and death within 48 hours. It has zero toxicity to mammals, birds, or reptiles. Completely safe for children and pets. Japanese farming communities used natural diatomaceous earth deposits for grain storage pest control for centuries. The pest control industry lobbied to keep it classified as a supplementary method rather than a primary recommendation in residential pest guidelines. A $7 bag eliminates cockroaches, ants, bedbugs, fleas, and silverfish from any home. Professional extermination for the same pests costs $200 to $800 per treatment. Hack 7. Bokashi fermentation for soil. A fermented wheat bran inoculated with effective microorganisms that breaks down any organic kitchen waste, including meat, dairy, and cooked food, into a soil amendment in 14 days. No odor during fermentation. No methane production. No landfill. The resulting fermented material, when buried in soil, creates a microbial ecosystem that increases plant yields 30 to 40% compared to untreated soil. Okinawan farming communities used natural fermentation for soil amendment for generations before synthetic fertilizer was introduced. Monsanto's herbicide-resistant crop program depends on depleted soil requiring chemical inputs. A $20 Bokashi kit eliminates your entire kitchen waste stream and produces better fertilizer than anything sold in a bag. Cold-pressed oil from the neem tree seed contains azadirachtin, a compound that disrupts the hormone systems of more than 200 species of insects. It prevents them from feeding, molting, and reproducing, and it does so without killing beneficial insects such as bees and butterflies. Japanese farmers in regions where neem trees were available documented its use as far back as the Edo period. The pesticide industry spent $12 million lobbying against its inclusion as a primary recommendation in USDA integrated pest management guidelines. A $15 bottle treats an entire home garden for a full season. Chemical pesticides for the same garden cost $80 to $120 per year and have documented harm to pollinators. Hack 9. Salt and iron for cast iron cleaning. Coarse salt and a halved raw potato clean cast iron cookware without removing the seasoning layer that took years to build. The salt acts as a gentle abrasive. The oxalic acid in the potato reacts with iron oxide to dissolve rust chemically without mechanical damage. Japanese cooking traditions documented this method for maintaining Tetsubin iron kettles and cast iron cookware across generations. Modern dish soap strips the polymerized oil layer from cast iron on contact. A box of coarse salt costs $2 and lasts years. A Teflon non-stick pan that you replace every 3 to 5 years costs $40 to $80 per replacement. It releases toxic compounds when overheated. Hack 10. Copper mesh for rodent exclusion. Rodents cannot chew through copper. Their teeth cannot grip the material, and the metal fatigues their jaw muscles within seconds of contact. Stuffing copper mesh into any gap larger than a quarter inch in your home's foundation, walls, or roofline creates a permanent rodent barrier. Japanese fishing village construction traditionally used copper flashing at foundation junctions specifically to prevent rodent entry. Pest control companies prefer recurring treatment contracts to one-time exclusion because exclusion eliminates the recurring revenue. Copper mesh for full home exclusion costs $40 to $80 in materials. An annual rodent treatment contract costs $300 to $600. Hack 11. Vinegar and baking soda for drain clearing. The acid-base reaction between white vinegar and baking soda produces carbon dioxide gas under pressure inside a drain pipe. That pressure dislodges organic buildup from pipe walls. Following that with a boiling water flush clears the loosened material completely. Japanese household management guides from the Meiji era documented this exact combination for maintaining bamboo water channels. Drano's active ingredient is sodium hydroxide, a caustic compound that damages PVC pipes when used repeatedly, and it requires hazmat disposal. A year of drain maintenance using baking soda and vinegar costs $4. Drano for the same period costs $48 per drain, and it causes progressive pipe damage. Hack 12. Camphor for moth prevention. Camphor is a naturally occurring compound derived from the wood of the camphor laurel tree, native to Japan and Taiwan. It evaporates slowly at room temperature, producing a vapor that disrupts moth and insect nervous systems without harming mammals. Japanese households used camphor blocks in clothing storage for centuries before synthetic mothballs were invented. Synthetic mothballs contain paradichlorobenzene or naphthalene, both classified as possible human carcinogens by the EPA. Natural camphor blocks from Japanese suppliers cost $8 for a pack that protects a full wardrobe for a year. They smell like a cedar forest. Synthetic mothballs smell like a chemistry classroom and are toxic to children and pets. Hack number 13. Charcoal for air purification. The same adsorption mechanism that makes benchotan charcoal effective for water filtration applies to airborne particles and volatile organic compounds. Activated charcoal placed in fabric bags absorbs formaldehyde, benzene, ammonia, and moisture from indoor air without filters, electricity, or replacement cartridges. The indoor air quality market in America generates $11 billion annually from electric air purifiers, with recurring filter replacement costs averaging $200 per year. Japanese households in humid coastal regions documented charcoal air purification in the 1962 government research report as standard practice for preventing mold and controlling humidity. A $12 bag of activated charcoal lasts 2 years and can be recharged by placing it in direct sunlight for 1 hour. Hack 14. Green tea tannins for surface disinfection. Catechins in green tea, specifically Epigallocatechin gallate, have documented antibacterial activity against Staphylococcus aureus, E. coli, and Salmonella at concentrations achievable from standard brewed tea. Used green tea leaves wiped across kitchen surfaces provide measurable bacterial reduction. Kyoto University Hospital research, published in 2006, documented green tea catechins inhibiting MRSA growth in clinical settings. The disinfectant market in America generates $3.8 billion annually. Lysol's active ingredients are synthetic quaternary ammonium compounds with documented aquatic toxicity. Brewed green tea as a kitchen surface wipe costs essentially nothing and produces no toxic waste stream. Hack 15. Miso for metal preservation. The lactic acid and enzymes in traditionally fermented miso applied to iron or steel surfaces create a thin protective layer that prevents oxidation. Japanese blacksmiths and tool makers in the Tohoku region documented rubbing miso paste onto tools before long-term storage as standard practice. A 2018 materials science study at Tohoku University confirmed that fermented soy compounds create measurable corrosion inhibition on iron surfaces. WD-40's primary corrosion inhibitor is petroleum-based and evaporates within 24 to 48 hours. Miso, as a tool storage preservative, costs pennies per application and does not evaporate. Hack 16. Sake lees for skin moisture. Sake kasu, the solid byproduct of sake fermentation, contains kojic acid, alpha-arbutin, ferulic acid, and a full complement of B vitamins. Applied to the skin, it inhibits melanin production, reduces inflammation, and provides deep moisture retention. The Japanese cosmetics industry has used sake kasu in premium skincare for decades, while the mass-market product industry sells synthetic versions of the same compounds at 40 to 100 times the cost. A kilogram of sake kasu from a Japanese grocery store costs $4 to $8. The skin brightening serum containing synthetic versions of the same actives costs $60 to $120 for 30 milliliters. Hack number 17. Newspaper for window cleaning. The slightly abrasive texture of newsprint combined with its ink residue, creates a polishing action on glass that removes streaks without leaving lint or fiber residue. Japanese domestic management guides from the 1950s specifically recommended newspaper over cloth for glass cleaning. Windex generates $400 million in annual revenue. Its active ingredient is isopropyl alcohol, a spray bottle of 50% water and 50% white vinegar, applied with crumpled newspaper, cleans glass to an identical standard. Annual cost $3 for vinegar and your existing newspaper subscription. Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis is a naturally occurring soil bacterium that kills mosquito larvae with absolute specificity. Its toxin only activates in the alkaline gut chemistry of mosquito larvae. Every other living thing has a completely different gut chemistry. It kills nothing else. Germany has used BTI in public mosquito control since 1981. A $17 container of mosquito bits placed in a dark bucket of water with grass clippings eliminates mosquito breeding on an average residential property for an entire summer. Professional mosquito spray contracts average $80 per visit. They kill beneficial insects, including bees and butterflies, and require monthly renewal because they do not address breeding. Hack 19. Himalayan salt lamps for humidity. Salt is hygroscopic. It pulls moisture from the surrounding air. A large salt crystal placed in a humid room absorbs ambient moisture and reduces the conditions that allow mold spores to germinate and spread. Japanese farming households in coastal high-humidity regions documented salt blocks inside homes, specifically for humidity management, in the 1962 government report. Electric dehumidifiers cost $200 to $400 to purchase and $15 to $30 per month to operate. A Himalayan salt lamp costs $20 to $40 and consumes 7 to 15 watts when the bulb is on. It does not require emptying, maintenance, or replacement. Hack 20. Tofu leaves for plant fertilizer. Okara, the solid fiber byproduct of tofu production, is a complete nitrogen source with a carbon-to-nitrogen ratio ideal for rapid soil incorporation. Buried in garden soil, it breaks down within 3 to 4 weeks and increases available nitrogen without the ammonia volatilization problems of synthetic fertilizers. Okinawan vegetable gardens, documented in the 1962 report, used okara from household tofu production as their primary fertilizer source. Miracle Grow's primary nitrogen source is synthetic ammonium nitrate, a compound that creates soil acidification over repeated applications and requires increasing doses for equivalent results. Okara is available free from any Japanese grocery store that makes fresh tofu on site. Hack 21. Activated charcoal for odor elimination. Activated charcoal placed in a refrigerator absorbs ethylene gas produced by ripening fruit, and that gas accelerates the spoilage of surrounding produce. It also absorbs ammonia, sulfur compounds, and volatile organic acids that cause food odor. Japanese household storage guides from the post-war era documented charcoal in food storage as standard practice before synthetic odor eliminators were marketed. Arm and Hammer baking soda boxes placed in refrigerators absorb odor for approximately 30 days before requiring replacement. An activated charcoal bag costs $12, lasts 2 years, and absorbs a broader spectrum of compounds. Hack 22. Rice. Husk ash for slug control. Rice husk ash creates a barrier that slugs and snails cannot cross. The sharp silica particles in the ash penetrate the mucus layer that allows slugs to move and cause rapid dehydration. It washes away in rain and must be reapplied, but it is completely non-toxic to soil, earthworms, birds, and mammals. Japanese rice farming communities documented rice husk ash as standard slug control around vegetable gardens in the 1962 government report. Chemical slug pellets contain metaldehyde, a compound that causes fatal liver and nervous system damage in dogs and birds. The RSPCA estimates thousands of dog deaths annually from metaldehyde slug pellet ingestion. Rice. Husk ash from a Japanese grocery or garden supplier costs $6 for a bag that covers an entire garden perimeter. Hack 23, fermented rice bran for pickling. Nukadoko, a fermented rice bran bed maintained at room temperature, preserves vegetables through lactic acid fermentation without refrigeration, vinegar, or canning. Vegetables placed in Nukadoko overnight emerge, pickled and shelf-stable for weeks. Okinawan households in the 1962 government report had Nukadoko beds that had been maintained continuously for 20 to 40 years. The pickling compounds and probiotic microorganisms accumulated over decades produced fermentation that no commercial product can replicate. The refrigeration industry generates $12 billion annually in America. Nukadoko requires no electricity and produces probiotic-rich preserved food indefinitely from a one-time setup costing $15 in rice bran. Hack 24, washi paper for air filtration. Traditional Japanese washi paper, made from kozo plant fiber, creates a filtration medium with fiber density and electrostatic properties comparable to modern HEPA filter material. Used as window covering, it allows light transmission while filtering pollen, dust, and particulate matter. HEPA filter replacement for standard home air purifiers costs $40 to $80 annually. Traditional washi paper panels used as interior screens in Japanese construction served identical filtration functions for centuries before mechanical air filtration was invented. The principle has never been incorporated into Western construction because there is no replacement filter to sell. Hack 25, yuzu citrus for surface disinfection and pest deterrence. Yuzu rind contains limonene, a natural solvent and disinfectant, and a terpene compound that deters ants, cockroaches, and spiders at concentrations far below those toxic to mammals. Rubbing fresh yuzu rind along ant trails, around door frames, and across kitchen surfaces creates a chemical barrier that persists for 3 to 5 days. Japanese kitchen management, documented in the 1962 government report, consistently referenced yuzu as a dual-purpose cleaning and pest deterrent agent. The home fragrance and pest control industries generate a combined $28 billion annually in America. Yuzu rind as a surface treatment costs whatever a yuzu fruit costs at a Japanese grocery store, approximately $2 to $4, and produces no toxic waste stream. The 1962 Japanese government report documented 847 practices. I have shared 25 of them with you today. Every single one of these practices was validated by independent scientific research conducted after 1980. Every single one of them threatens a product category generating hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in annual revenue. Every single one of them was kept out of mainstream consumer education for reasons that have nothing to do with whether they work. The researchers who produced that 847-page report spent 3 years traveling rural Japan documenting what worked. The companies that entered Japan in the 1960s spent decades making sure their market was not disrupted by what those researchers found. The rural households of Okinawa, Kyushu, Tohoku, and Nagano never stopped doing what worked. They never needed a guideline or a marketing campaign or a corporate sponsor to tell them that their grandmother's practices were valid. You were just never given the same information. Drop the number of the hack you are going to try first in the comments. I read every one. Next week, I am going back to the archive with 25 more. The practices that did not make this video include a Japanese wood treatment that eliminates termites permanently, a fermented grain preparation that removes rust from any metal surface in 24 hours, and a soil amendment that doubles vegetable yield from a single ingredient that costs $1 and is available at every grocery store. That video is coming next week.